right, so this is a fitness channel, but I found myself ultra intrigued by this Jake Paul Ben Askren fight. Um, I don't want to give my prediction because I feel like A, my prediction doesn't matter. B, I don't know enough about Ben Askren because I was more of a UFC fan. He did his winning in ONE FC and Bellator, and even though that's huge accomplishments, and I think he is a really cool dude, and I love the fight promotion he's doing. I didn't actually pay too much attention to Ben Askren's MMA career because as George St. Pierre was like leaving the UFC, I was more interested in the Robbie Lawlers, Johnny Hendrickses of the world because I was like, okay, look, we already had a great wrestler as a champion for a while. I kind of want to see some elite level striking for a while, right? Sorry, my hat is causing this shadow. Okay, I'm getting better at this YouTube thing. And then I never really like watched Jake Paul, like any of the Paul brothers videos. I heard about like the controversy because one day when I went to work, everybody had their panties in a bunch about it, and I'm like, I don't even know who these kids are, man. Um, so I've actually only known Jake Paul as a boxer, and I'm like, hey man, the kid's pretty good. I mean, I think for somebody who's been training for 3 years, he looks like a guy who's trained for maybe like 5 years, and that's to be expected when you eat, sleep, and breathe something. So the reason I'm making this video is because even though I'm gonna order this fight, I'm gonna watch this fight. Uh, and I think it's ultimately going to be a very competitive fight, despite the what people consider like lopsided experience with Askren in terms of the MMA community, and then in the boxing community, they just think that Jake Paul is going to just march all over this guy. So what I wanted to do with this video is I kind of want to just level set things with people. So I'm a big fan of intellectual consistency and intellectual honesty, right? I understand that when you have two guys who are a little bit on the polarizing side, I think Ben in throughout this whole thing has made himself more likable, and I feel like Jake Paul has kind of like accepted the role of villain, even though he's kind of a baby face who kind of is like being thrown into that whole heel role. But yeah, I think that everybody is very strongly opinionated now, and it's based off of groupthink. So I think, well, like with the MMA crew, they think that, oh yeah, man, fucking Ben is gonna go in there. He's gonna dirty box him. He's gonna clubber lang him into the fucking corner and just beat on his body and make him quit. And then people are like, oh man, well Jake Paul, even though he's a counter puncher, he's just gonna pick him apart on the outside, circle, circle, pick him apart, pick him apart, pick him apart, right? Um, I'm like on both hands with both opinions. I'm like, okay, first off, Rocky 3 was a fantastic movie. Mr. T was amazing in that movie. How many real world fights have you seen where anything remotely close to that happened that did not end with the person doing the clubber lang shit getting points deducted or disqualified? Because personally, folks, I've been watching boxing since I was 4 years old. I've watched HBO. I've watched ESPN boxing, the most of the major pay-per-views. I've watched all the undercard fights on those pay-per-views. I have never seen a sanctioned body allow a Rocky 3 type fucking fight out there, especially considering the fact that Ben Askren is an MMA fighter and MMA almost put boxing out of business. Like, these refs are not going to do this guy any favors by allowing him any advantages in there. So, to the people who think that Ben's just going to clubber lang him without the consequences of getting points deducted, I mean, or maybe he will get points deducted, but like I heard GSP's old trainer, like, say, like, oh yeah, he may even take him down in the ring. I'm like, what? Okay, get disqualified. Jake's gonna get his hand raised. Okay, that's cool. I heard Chael Sonnen tell a story about Matt Lindland, which I can confirm without ever even hearing the story that it's 100% true because I've seen things like this happen where an MMA guy spars with a boxing guy, and in that sparring session, he'll break a boxer he has no business being in the ring with. I've witnessed things like that happen. The problem is any time in this fight that Ben gets any type of clinch, watch the referee. That referee is going to jump in there like he's trying to save his firstborn son from a polar bear. Now, this fight will not be fixed. It's not going to be fixed, right? Like, they're not going to do this Jake Paul kid any favors, but they are going to force Ben Askren to fight in a boxing match. This isn't going to be dirty boxing, clinch, MMA. Ben Askren is going to have to fucking box. And so, part one, and this is, don't worry, we're going to get to Jake soon too. Don't worry about that. This isn't just bash on Ben Askren, because I actually like the guy. This is just fucking... This isn't even bashing the MMA community. I love the MMA community. I'm in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I love these guys, but it's like, I know you're rooting for Ben because you love him, and you got to create these, like, this situation, I should say, in your mind to be like, oh yeah, dude, he's just gonna grab the head, uppercut, beat the body. I'm like, it ain't gonna work like that, dude. It is not going to work like that. But going into it, yeah. So basically, Jake Paul is a guy who's starting to revitalize boxing. He's going to be protected. Now, when I say protected, it means that, the refs aren't going to the refs or judges are not going to fix this thing in his favor. He's just not going to experience any threats that he wouldn't already experience within the confines of a boxing match. So he's going to be taken care of. Now, there's that. Secondly, Ben Askren just had his hip replaced. Yeah, he had a hip replacement surgery. Okay? So I think a lot of people thought, like, oh yeah, man, he's just going to, because he's an Olympic wrestler. And don't get me wrong, elite level wrestlers are some of the strongest people, the strongest human beings on this planet. I don't care. In terms of physical strength and agility, they're some of the scariest human beings on the planet, not taken away from them. But most of your punching power comes from your hip, comes from your legs. You're sending that power through. I don't know how strong these shots are going to be with no hip. And, like, no one would accuse, like, if you watch any of Ben Askren's fights, no one's accusing this guy of being a power puncher. Ben Askren's striking to be as generous as possible was really just a distraction for his ground game. It was designed for you to get so comfortable, like, what is this guy even doing in here with me? That you would plant your feet, go for that quick big punch, he would duck under that punch, grab you, put you to the mat, and make you hate your life for 15 minutes, or just keep punching you from the ground until you tapped or got knocked out from the ground. That was Ben's game. In a boxing match with no hip, he's not going to have a lot of power. He is all the weapons that he is accustomed to having are gone. Like, let's say Jake Paul is who his camp says he is, and he starts just tattooing him 1-2 slip, 1-2 slip, ba ba, jab 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 jab, and just Ben is just eating him. Well, Ben's going to have to rely on his hands because the takedown isn't there. The clinch is going to be there for maybe 5 to 10 seconds at a time, not enough to get any work in. The ref is probably going to put himself between the two on the break. That way he can't get that cheap right hand in. So he's going to have to rely purely on his hands to get him out of this, to get him through this fight. So I mean, look, dude, I don't. All I'm saying is I'm gonna say this, okay? No predictions, but the closer this thing looks to a traditional boxing match, the more the odds are in Jake Paul's favor. So here's the questions that I have on Ben Askren's side. How much is the hip going to affect him? Is the gas tank still in there? Because 12 weeks of training after doing nothing, I don't know if that's enough for an 8-round fight, but he does have world class conditioning. So, one thing we do know is he will come in shape, and if he does get exhausted, he will have what it takes to power through it. We do know that he does have a chin, however, it was exposed a little bit or maybe tampered with a little bit during the Masvidal fight where he got kneed straight in the face. So that's the variable we have with Ben Askren. Also, Ben doesn't have. I believe Jake is going to be bigger than Ben. He's going to have a reach advantage on Ben, and he's also got more pure boxing experience on Ben. Now the thing is, yeah, you could make the argument that Jake Paul has not fought anybody, but in the reality, he fought 3 guys who called him out. Like all 3 guys said, "I want to fight you, bro." He gave him the fight. You can only really defeat what they put in front of you. So I know it's 2 YouTubers and a basketball player, but in those fights, it's comparable experience, and he came out on top. So you have to respect him for that. So what to expect on the Askren side is, number one, he's going to have a boxing match. He's not going to have any of his weapons that he's used to having. And we have all these unknown questions. It's like, hey, is the hip enough? Is the hip healed enough for you to generate the power to put this kid away? Is your conditioning still there? You went through a serious freaking surgery where he self-admitted that he was on the couch. Is it enough time to be ready to go 8 full rounds, 24 minutes of fighting? Okay? That's what I have on the Ben side that makes him a bit vulnerable in this fight. Now, we're going to give it to Jake Paul. Jake Paul carries some vulnerabilities in this fight. So, excuse me. I might have the Rana. Let me just take a moment to drink my cancer juice because this offends people. Diet Coke offends people. Meeting people on Bumble and Tinder and having unprotected sex with people you met after knowing them for like 2 hours doesn't offend people. But this diet soda, totally unhealthy. Love it. All right, so let's go to what we don't know about Jake Paul. So first off, I'm from the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community, right? Like that's my bread and butter. Here's what I'm just gonna say to people, and this is not to diminish what he achieved in the ring. He got in the ring with people who were throwing real punches at him, and he beat them. TKO, KO, KO. Not taking anything away from Jake Paul in those. But when a purple belt spars a white belt, that purple belt will typically look pretty goddamn good. So the question that I have on the Jake Paul side is this. How's he going to respond when those punches are against a guy who's got a chin? And let's say Ben realizes, hey, my head movement's not that good, and he's willing to eat that 2 big shots to get inside and pester him. How good is Jake Paul's boxing on the inside against somebody who's got a good clinch? Is Jake Paul a victim of his own moment? Is he going to try to burn himself out within the first 6 minutes of this fight? Because it's not 8 2-minute rounds, it's 8 3-minute rounds, right? So is he going to burn himself out throwing punches? Are his training camps legitimately as tough as he says they are? Is his camp preparing him for the clinch itself? Like these are things that I'm curious about, because Nate Robinson's a great athlete, but when he got hit for the first time, it was like, oh shit, I've never been hit before. This sucks, right? When he's throwing punches against guys who really can't take the punishment, it's like, yeah, you know, you're Superman. Ba 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 ba. But what happens when it's like ba and Ben's unfazed by his shots, right? Like, does Jake Paul have the power to knock out Ben Askren? I I don't think so. I don't think so. I think he'll have that power with it. So if Jake Paul legitimately wants to knock Ben Askren out, he's gotta play a game here. He's gotta play a gamble. So here's the gamble. When you exert yourself, I don't care if it's jujitsu, wrestling, or boxing, when you go for the kill, it takes a lot of fucking energy to go for that kill. Throwing knockout punches takes a lot more energy than playing the Nick Diaz game where they'll throw those shots at 70-80%, but they'll land most of them, right? It's two very different games you're playing, right? So the game that Jake Paul is going to have to play is, cuz I'll adjust my past statement, right? What I just said. If he does have the power, you've got the first 2 rounds to do it. And that's going to be when Ben is at his most vulnerable. But if you go for that kill and you don't get it and you exhaust yourself, you know, let's say you put out 4 rounds of energy within the first 2 rounds, does he have the gas to keep going? Like, can he fight an intelligent enough fight to take the decision from Ben Askren, right? Because here's the thing. If Ben is to beat him, it's going to be because of exhaustion. It's going to be because he breaks him, or maybe he still has some power left. But I can't really see Ben, like, outboxing Jake Paul in this. But what I can see is I can see Ben breaking him, meaning I can see him getting him into the deep waters, exhausted, continuously going to the body, especially when Jake, let's say it's like round 5 and Jake's shots just have nothing left on them and Ben is just raring to go. Those body shots will just add up over time. So that's how I can see it going down. I can see Ben taking a decision if he can just exhaust him in early on. Like, if he can cook Jake Paul, he can maybe knock him out, maybe TKO him, maybe get the decision, but it's going to depend on multiple factors. And I'm sorry if I'm rambling here, people, but this is just intriguing to me because I think Snoop Dogg of all people said it best. It's like, look, dude, most fights you understand who does what. Like, in this fight, I don't know how the fuck Ben Askren is gonna look in a boxing match. I know what Jake's gonna do. Jake is really good at making reads. He is really good at counter punching. I haven't seen enough of his skill set to know if he has it in him in his tool bag yet to keep Ben on the outside. I don't know that yet. I know Ben is tough as shit, but I don't know if in his head if he's gonna have an oh shit moment, like gets tagged really hard and goes, oh fuck, this kid actually can fight. Oh fuck, like, because certain crossovers in certain sports just don't work. But anyway, so let's recap here. Number 1, this is not gonna be Rocky fucking 4, no, Rocky 3. Number 2, both guys have a lot of weaknesses, which for me is why I don't think it's going to be a first or second round knockout. I think it's going to go at least around 4 or 5. If it goes the distance, I think it'll be an entertaining fight. It's not going to go down in history as an all-time great, but you won't be pissed off that you spent your money, right? Each guy has a path to victory. I think since it's a pure boxing match, Jake has a few extra options, but there's just so many unknown variables about this kid. Like, I know he's a tough kid. I know he can fight, but I don't know if he's I don't know how he's going to react to a guy who could potentially, unless he completely lost his chin, who can take his shot and keep moving forward against him. I don't know if Ben still has a chin. I don't know, like, what his head movement's going to be like. I don't know, since Jake is really good, he's kind of like, and dare I say this, he's like the alpha version, which is for those of you who don't know software engineering, alpha comes before beta, so it's like it's a minimum viable product. It's the very first thing you build. He kind of reminds me of an Anderson Silva-esque fighter, whereas when dudes punch him, he's very quick at like picking up your tendencies, making reads, and setting traps. So I don't know how quickly he's going to pick up on Ben's offense. And then on the other hand, I don't know if Ben has enough variations, like various attacks for him, right? Because Deji in the first fight kept landing the jab until the jab wasn't working anymore. Then he started getting countered like a motherfucker until Jake picked up on him. So we don't know. I don't know. Just realize it's going to be a good, fun fight, and it's probably just not going to look how you think it's going to look. It's not going to look how I think it's going to look. It's probably going to be part train wreck, part decent undercard boxing, but I'm going to love every goddamn minute of it. And to both guys, thank you for doing this fight. Thank you for bringing attention to a sport that I love that was kind of going to the wayside. So to both you, Jake Paul, Ben Askren, thank you for doing this fight. I hope both of you come out of this unscathed. I hope you both make a lot of money off this. And I hope that it's not a waste of my $10 or $20 or how much Triller is going to make off me. Anyways, cutting it off here, folks. Remember to go to jackslammer.com to get some coaching. Every Sunday, I'm doing a vlog leading up to my bodybuilding competition. That's May 15th. And remember, if you want some sick-ass Slammer Fitness merchandise, go to slammerfitness.com. See you guys Sunday. Bye.